Amelia's plane. Chief Transportation Correspondent and pilot Mayke Beeler has an update. Mayke, the people want to know.
I want to know.
Yeah.
I love Amelia Earhart.
For almost 90 years, the mystery of what happened to trailblazing aviator Amelia Earhart has intrigued generations.
What really happened to Amelia Earhart? After more than 87 years of mystery, one of the most enigmatic cases in aviation history might be closer to its resolution. Amelia Earhart, the trailblazer who defied heights and broke barriers, mysteriously disappeared over the Pacific Ocean in 1937 while attempting to fly around the world. But did she really crash, as many believe? Today, we bring you an astonishing discovery that could change everything we knew about her final flight. From her historic journey as the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic to the most surprising theories surrounding her disappearance, Amelia's story has captivated generations. However, after years of speculation and failed searches, a new finding could rewrite history. What secrets lie behind her final flight? Join us as we unravel the mysteries surrounding the famous pilot and explore what really might have happened that fateful night. The early life of Amelia Earhart. Amelia Earhart was born on July 24, 1897, in Atchison, Kansas, into a loving family that constantly faced instability due to her father's work as a railroad lawyer. The family moved frequently, which allowed Amelia to attend several schools and gave her a unique perspective on life. Despite the constant changes, young Amelia stood out for her innate curiosity and adventurous spirit. As a child, she enjoyed climbing trees, hunting rats with a rifle, and collecting insects. Even then, her bravery and desire to explore the world around her were evident. Throughout her childhood, Amelia had to adapt to an unconventional education due to her family's frequent moves. However, her passion for learning led her to become an outstanding student. In 1915, Amelia graduated from Hyde Park High School in Chicago, and although her path was not a direct route to university, her academic interests were always deep. However, life had other plans for her. After graduation, Amelia moved to Pennsylvania, where she began studies at Unn School, but quickly dropped out to join the war effort in Toronto, Canada. There, she worked as a nursing assistant during World War I, a role that not only brought her closer to human suffering, but also strengthened her character in the face of adversity. After the war and back in the United States, Amelia thought that medicine would be her future. She enrolled at Columbia University in New York, but the call of the sky was irresistible. It was one particular event that would forever change the course of her life. In 1920, Amelia attended an air show in Long Beach, California, where she had the opportunity to take a 10-minute flight. This flight changed her life forever. In that brief time in the air, Amelia knew without a doubt that the sky was her destiny. It wasn't just an adventure, it was a passion she could not ignore. From that moment, she began working towards her dream of becoming a pilot, a career that was dominated by men at the time. In January 1921, Amelia began taking flying lessons from pioneering aviator Netta Snook in Kerrfield, near Long Beach. Although the lessons were expensive, Amelia was undeterred. To pay for her training and her first airplane, a yellow Kia that she nicknamed the Canary, she worked several jobs, including truck driver and stenographer. Thanks to her determination and hard work, on May 15, 1923, Amelia Earhart became the 16th woman in the United States to earn a pilot's license from the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale, FAE. The first transatlantic flight in fame, Amelia Earhart knew that in a world dominated by men, the path to aviation would be challenging, but her unwavering determination never stopped her. After obtaining her pilot's license in 1923, becoming the 16th woman to do so, her flying skills and passion for aviation began attracting attention from both the aviation community and the public. However, it was in 1928 when an extraordinary opportunity would change her life forever. George P. Putnam, the editor and promoter who would later become her husband, invited her to join a historic transatlantic flight, but with one condition. Amelia would not be the pilot, but the passenger. The flight would be carried out in a Fowler F-7B3M called Friendship, piloted by Wilma Stoltz and co-piloted by mechanic Louis Gordon. On June 17, 1928, Friendship took off from Tracy Harbor, Newfoundland, to cross the Atlantic Ocean. Though Amelia was not in charge, she became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic as a passenger, marking a significant milestone in aviation history. The flight was not easy. They faced mechanical challenges and adverse weather, but after 20 hours of flight, Friendship successfully landed in Burport, Wales. The news of this achievement spread quickly, and Amelia Earhart became a globally recognized name. This event gave her instant fame, making her a symbolic figure of aviation and, at the same time, a symbol of female empowerment. The true turning point in Amelia's career came on May 20, 1932. On that day, Amelia made her first solo transatlantic flight, a milestone that solidified her place in history. She took off from Harbour Grace, Nova Scotia, in a Lockheed Vega monoplane with the goal of flying non-stop to Ireland. After 15 hours and 18 minutes of flight, she landed in a field in Culmore, Northern Ireland, becoming the first woman to complete a solo transatlantic flight. This achievement was not only a testament to her exceptional skills as a pilot, but also a revolution in the perception of women in aviation and many other male-dominated fields. This flight marked the beginning of an even bolder career. Amelia didn't stop there. She continued breaking barriers and setting new records, including becoming the first person to fly solo from Honolulu, Hawaii, to Oakland, California, and the first woman to fly solo non-stop across the United States, from Los Angeles to New York. Each of these achievements not only cemented her reputation as an aviator, but also made her a symbol of courage and determination, inspiring countless women to follow their dreams and fight for equality. Beyond her impressive achievements, Amelia Earhart was a key figure in changing the social perception of women in aviation. An unwavering advocate for women's rights, she firmly believed that women could perform any role they desired, including those traditionally dominated by men, such as aviation. Her life and work opened doors for future generations of female aviators and showed them that there are no limits when one has determination and passion. Her legacy is a testament to her courage, her ability to challenge expectations, and her dedication to making a real difference in the world. The ambitious flight of Amelia and her disappearance. On June 1, 1937, Amelia Earhart and her navigator Fred Noonan began a flight that would be the pinnacle of her career. Their mission? To circumnavigate the globe, flying eastward in a Lockheed Electra 10E, an aircraft designed for long distances. Amelia's dream of being the first woman to complete a round-the-world flight was about to come true. They departed from Miami, Florida, with a route planned that would take them through South America, Africa, Asia, and the Pacific. Each leg of the journey would be a challenge, but Amelia was accustomed to overcoming obstacles. The first significant stop on their journey was South America, where they landed for refueling and to prepare for the longer, more complex stretches of the trip. From there, they flew over the Atlantic Ocean toward Africa, making stops in Brazil, Senegal, and Sudan. Each stage of the trip brought them to new latitudes, where they faced unpredictable weather and technical challenges that tested both Amelia's flying skills and Fred Noonan's navigation expertise. Meanwhile, media outlets around the world closely followed their progress, eagerly updating audiences on their journey toward the next historic milestone. The journey continued eastward, with stops in India, Thailand, and Indonesia, facing even more challenges like unfamiliar landing strips and even more uncertain weather. Yet, Amelia remained steadfast. Her determination to complete the first aerial circumnavigation by a woman seemed stronger than ever. By early July 1937, they arrived in Leyte, a city in Papua New Guinea, where they prepared for the most crucial leg of their journey, the flight across the vast Pacific Ocean to Howland Island, a small and remote patch of land in the middle of the ocean. This island would serve as a key refueling stop before continuing the final stretch back to the United States. On July 2, 1937, Amelia and Fred took off from Leyte, bound for Howland Island, knowing this would be one of the most challenging flights of the entire trip. The U.S. Coast Guard had dispatched the cutter Itasca, a ship equipped with radio communication, to assist with navigation and maintain contact with the plane. Everything was carefully planned, but something went wrong. Hours passed, and Amelia's plane never reached the island. Communications between the Itasca and Amelia's plane became increasingly intermittent, with Amelia's last transmissions indicating that their fuel was at critical levels and that they were unable to locate the island. Her words revealed growing panic, and the situation became increasingly desperate. Amelia's final transmission was a heartbreaking message indicating that they were completely lost in the middle of the Pacific. The disappearance of Amelia and Fred triggered one of the largest search and rescue operations in history, covering more than 250,000 square miles of ocean by the U.S. Navy and Coast Guard. But despite exhaustive efforts, no trace of them or their plane was found. Last known location of Amelia Earhart. On July 2, 1937, Amelia Earhart and her navigator Fred Noonan were flying toward what was supposed to be a brief stop at Howland Island, a remote point in the Pacific Ocean. They had departed from Leyte, Papua New Guinea, with Howland Island as their refueling point before heading to Hawaii. This tiny island, measuring just 1.5 miles long and half a mile wide, was situated about halfway between Australia and Hawaii. Strategically chosen to refuel, Howland Island was a key milestone in Amelia's ambitious plan to circumnavigate the globe. The flight from Leyte to Howland covered more than 2,500 miles, a considerable challenge, but Amelia was accustomed to pushing the limits of aviation. Despite meticulous planning and support from the cutter Itasca, a U.S. Coast Guard vessel assigned to assist with communications and navigation, the situation worsened on July 2nd. Communication between Amelia's plane and the Itasca became increasingly unstable and faint, making it difficult to pinpoint the island's location precisely. Amelia's transmissions became intermittent, and in her final message, she indicated that they were out of fuel and unable to locate the island. After this distressing final communication, Amelia's plane vanished, and despite search efforts spanning over 250,000 square miles of ocean, no trace of Amelia, Fred, or their plane was found. The mystery of her disappearance deepened, and Howland Island became the last known point of her journey. Theories about the disappearance. After Amelia's disappearance, the official search became a race against time. However, the lack of conclusive evidence opened the door to a range of theories. What really happened? Emergency landing at sea. Some suggested that Amelia and Fred attempted an emergency landing in the ocean when they ran out of fuel. It is believed that the lack of evidence could indicate the plane sank rapidly. Landing on a remote island. Another popular theory is that Amelia and Fred may have landed on an unknown island, where they survived for some time before perishing. However, this possibility has not been confirmed due to the lack of tangible evidence, and some investigations suggest such an island was not close enough to their planned route. Amelia's disappearance became a topic of speculation, conspiracy theories, and tireless searches by historians, investigators, and adventurers. Despite all the efforts, the truth remains a mystery. The lack of solid evidence has fueled numerous theories and legends, but none have been able to satisfactorily explain the enigma of Amelia Earhart. Radio reports and final moments. On July 2, 1937, Amelia Earhart and her navigator Fred Noonan faced one of the most crucial segments of their historic journey around the world. They had departed from Leyte, Papua New Guinea, with Howland Island as their next refueling stop, a remote point in the Pacific Ocean. What began as a bold and well-planned journey turned into one of the most mysterious disappearances in aviation history, leaving the entire world on edge. Amelia and Fred, aboard their Lockheed Electra 10E, a state-of-the-art aircraft for the time, relied on radio communications to stay in contact with the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Itasca, stationed near Howland Island. These communications were vital for guiding Amelia and Fred, who were crossing vast, treacherous open seas far from any immediate help. As the flight progressed, Earhart's radio transmissions revealed that conditions were not ideal. On July 2nd, at 7:42 a.m., Amelia reported that she was over position line 157 337ths and had about 200 miles to go to reach Howland Island. Communication was critical, but it soon became more complicated. The radio frequencies were mismatched, and the distress signals Amelia was sending became increasingly intermittent. With overcast skies and limited visibility, uncertainty grew, and the navigation challenges intensified. In her last clear transmission, Earhart said, "We are running north and south," reflecting the growing confusion and desperation of the situation. After this signal, contact was completely lost, and from that point onward, Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan vanished without a trace. The U.S. Coast Guard and U.S. Navy immediately launched a massive search operation covering over 250,000 square miles of ocean. However, neither the plane nor its occupants were found. The disappearance of Amelia and Fred left a void, and the mystery deepened when, in the months and years following, unconfirmed radio reports emerged, fueling speculation. Some claim to have heard distress signals from the area where Amelia was believed to have vanished, suggesting the possibility of an emergency landing. Had they survived and were waiting to be rescued on a remote island? Was it possible that Amelia and Fred were stranded, waiting for a rescue signal while ships passed by? The lack of conclusive evidence left the door open for theories and mysteries about the aviator's final fate. Espionage mission theory. One of the most intriguing theories about Amelia Earhart's disappearance suggests that her final flight in 1937 was not just an attempt to circumnavigate the globe, but a secret espionage mission commissioned by the US government. This theory gains traction when considering the political context of the time. In the years leading up to World War II, tensions between the United States and Japan were rising, particularly in the Pacific, a region of great strategic and military importance. Amelia, known for her bravery and exceptional flying skills, could have been seen as an ideal candidate for reconnaissance and espionage missions. The mystery deepens when looking at certain suspicious details. In April 1937, Amelia met secretly with two close advisors to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, Bernard Baruch and Oscar Westover, at the March airfield in California. The details of this meeting were classified, fueling speculation that it involved a military intelligence mission. Moreover, before her final flight, Earhart changed her original route, which was supposed to take her from Oakland to Hawaii, and opted to fly eastward from Miami, passing near the Marshall Islands, which at the time were under Japanese control. This change of route raised suspicions that her flight had a strategic interest beyond a mere aviation challenge. The Lockheed Electra that Amelia was flying was equipped with advanced technology for the time, including high-frequency radios and sophisticated navigation equipment, which some theorists interpret as potential espionage tools. Intelligence gathering through radio surveillance or reconnaissance flights over Japanese-controlled territories could have been a covert objective. Additionally, some unconfirmed reports suggest that Amelia and her navigator, Fred Noonan, may have been captured by the Japanese military after a forced landing on the Marshall Islands, an event that was never verified, but that fueled the mystery surrounding her disappearance for decades. Survival and new identity theory. Another theory that gained popularity in the decades following Earhart's disappearance is that she survived and adopted a new identity. This hypothesis was championed by Joe Clare, who published the book Amelia Earhart Lives in 1970, claiming that Amelia not only survived her disappearance, but was also captured by the Japanese military and later repatriated to the United States under a new identity, Irene Bolam. In the 1990s, a journalist named Randall Brink delved deeper into the theory and claimed to have found evidence supporting Clare's assertions. Brink investigated Irene Bolam, a woman living in New Jersey who, according to his observations, bore a striking physical resemblance to Amelia Earhart. Intriguingly, Bolam had no public records before the mid-1940s, leading some to speculate that she might have assumed a new identity after returning. Furthermore, Bolam had been an investment banker and was involved in women's organizations that Amelia had also supported, adding further intrigue to the theory. However, Bolam vehemently denied any connection to Amelia Earhart and even took legal action against those promoting the theory, declaring, "I am not a mysterious woman, I am not Amelia Earhart." Despite this, the physical similarities between the two women, along with contradictory testimonies and incomplete pieces of the story, continue to fuel the controversy over the true fate of the famous aviator. Discovery of Gardner Island, Nikumaroro. In 1940, 3 years after Amelia Earhart's disappearance, a discovery revived the mystery of her final flight. Gardner Island, now known as Nikumaroro, located in the remote Pacific Ocean. The find was made by British colonizers who were exploring the then uninhabited island and stumbled upon puzzling clues that soon captured worldwide attention. Among the most shocking discoveries were skeletal remains scattered across the island, along with items that appeared to have belonged to someone from the same era as Amelia Earhart. 13 bone fragments were identified, and initial studies suggested that the remains belonged to an adult woman. This discovery immediately sparked speculation as to whether the bones could belong to Amelia Earhart or, alternatively, her navigator, Fred Noonan. The news quickly became a focal point for investigators and the media, as it could shed new light on what had really happened to the aviator during her fateful around-the-world flight in 1937. Along with the skeletal remains, the British explorers found several artifacts that added to the uncertainty about Amelia Earhart's fate. One of the most intriguing discoveries was a piece of plexiglass, which closely resembled a window from the Lockheed Electra airplane that Earhart was piloting during her last flight. This piece of glass was immediately linked to the lost aircraft, suggesting that Gardner Island could have been the place where Earhart's plane either landed or crashed. In addition, the investigators found a woman's 1930 S-era shoe, improvised tools, and a cosmetic jar from the same period. The presence of these objects suggested that a person from that time could indeed have been on the island. The artifacts not only offered clues about the possible presence of Amelia, but also reinforced the idea that the aviator might have survived an emergency landing. After the discovery, the bones and artifacts were sent to Fiji for analysis. The hope was that scientific testing could confirm whether the remains belonged to Amelia Earhart. However, fate intervened tragically. The skeletal remains mysteriously disappeared during the analysis process, leading to further doubts and uncertainty regarding the authenticity of the findings. This inexplicable disappearance fueled speculation that the remains had been deliberately removed to conceal evidence that could alter the dominant theories about Earhart's fate. However, the fact that the remains disappeared left a sense of incompleteness and frustration among those hoping for a definitive solution to the mystery. The island itself, Nikumaroro, is an extremely inhospitable environment. It is small and surrounded by rugged terrain and dense vegetation, which made a thorough search difficult at the time of the discovery. Despite its isolated characteristics and difficult access, Nikumaroro turned out to be the site of a perplexing find. Furthermore, the island is home to a species of giant coconut crabs, known for their impressive size and ability to hunt and consume small animals. These crabs can drag large prey, which raised more questions about what might have occurred if Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan had arrived on the island alive but injured after an emergency landing. The discovery of Gardner Island and the artifacts found there has been the subject of debate and speculation since its revelation. Some theories suggest that Amelia and Fred might have survived on the island for a time after the landing, and that the remains found could belong to Earhart, while others believe the findings are merely coincidences that do not offer definitive answers. Despite efforts to confirm the identity of the remains, the mystery remains unresolved. Gardner Island continues to be a place of great interest for historians and investigators of the Earhart case, who continue to search for new clues that may finally close the chapter on one of aviation's most persistent mysteries. Discovery and recovery of Amelia Earhart's airplane, a historic milestone, July 20th, 2024. The world of aviation and history as a whole witnessed a historic moment when the discovery of Amelia Earhart's lost plane was confirmed, 87 years after her mysterious disappearance. The news, long awaited for nearly 9 decades, marks the closure of one of the greatest enigmas of the 20th century, revealed by a team of underwater explorers led by renowned Robert Ballard, famous for his discovery of the Titanic wreck. The expedition was funded by National Geographic and focused its search on the remote Pacific Ocean, particularly near Nikumaroro, formerly known as Gardner Island, a site that has been linked to various theories about Earhart's fate. Ballard and his team of marine archaeologists and forensic experts employed cutting-edge sonar technology and underwater imagery to explore the seafloor around Nikumaroro. This region had been a point of interest for years, as previous investigations and artifact discoveries suggested that Earhart and her navigator, Fred Noonan, might have landed there after their disappearance on July 2, 1937. After months of searching, the team identified a field of debris at a depth of approximately 2,000 feet. The sonar images revealed structures matching the dimensions of the Lockheed Electra 10E, the plane that Amelia Earhart was flying during her attempt at circumnavigating the world. Among the recovered remains were fuselage components, engine parts, and metal fragments, all consistent with the specifications of Earhart's plane. These findings provided strong evidence that the lost aircraft of Amelia Earhart had finally been located. The process of confirming the discovery was not immediate. It required thorough analysis by experts from the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, Lockheed Martin, and historians specializing in aviation from the era. The recovered parts were compared to historical photographs of Earhart's plane, and a rigorous process of verification was undertaken to ensure the authenticity of the remains found. This meticulous verification was key to guaranteeing that the discovery was accurate and definitive. The recovery operation of the airplane's remains was carried out with great care and precision. Using remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, the team extracted artifacts and parts from the ocean floor. Each piece was carefully catalogued and preserved to allow for detailed study and the reconstruction of the events surrounding the disappearance of Amelia and Fred. In addition to the airplane remains, marine sediment samples were collected. These samples will be crucial in determining how long the remains had been underwater and for providing more information about the environmental conditions that may have affected the plane after its landing or possible crash in the ocean. This analysis could provide more details about the circumstances following the flight and the conditions that Earhart and Noonan faced. The location of the wreck near Nikumaroro fits with the survival hypothesis that has been supported by various previous discoveries. It is believed that Amelia Earhart and her navigator may have made an emergency landing on the island, where they survived as castaways for a time before perishing. This has been supported by findings on the island, such as women's shoes, utensils, and other artifacts that may have belonged to Earhart. The confirmation of the airplane's discovery not only provides answers to the mystery of its disappearance, but also underscores the perseverance and spirit of exploration that defined Amelia Earhart, as well as her legacy as one of the most influential figures in the history of aviation. This discovery marks an emotional and scientific closure for the families of Earhart and Noonan, as well as for those who, for decades, have tried to unravel what truly happened during the aviator's final flight. The find also honors Amelia Earhart's legacy as a pioneer in aviation and a symbol of courage and determination. The recovery of the plane will be the subject of detailed studies in the coming years. The recovered artifacts will not only contribute to the reconstruction of Amelia's story, but also open new doors for aviation research in the 1930s. Preservation and analysis efforts will continue and will undoubtedly provide new insights that could change our understanding of what happened on that tragic night in July. Amelia Earhart remains a source of inspiration for generations, not only for her bravery in aviation, but also for how she broke barriers and left an indelible mark on the fight for women's rights. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating stories like this one. See you next time, and until then, let's keep exploring the mysteries and achievements that continue to inspire so many people around the world.